Hi everyone, welcome to Pitch ICE Tech Futures, which is our digital response to the physical startup competition we host annually at ICE. Although we were not able to meet live and in person this year, we still decided to run the competition, although in a slightly different format. Over the period of a few weeks between November and December, we were accepting submissions from startups. Despite last year being rather challenging for startups, we received around 40 applications. And from these, we selected a long list of around 15 whose video pitches are now available on the website, with voting on the most popular one due to close shortly. In parallel, we have also worked with a group of investors to select 3 startups that they consider to be the most interesting, and that's how we ended up with today's session. The 3 startups selected represent rather different types of businesses and products. Instead of regular pitches, however, we've asked Evan Hoff, who has been supporting our startup initiatives since 2010, I believe, to interview them and moderate a more casual, but I'm sure also fairly grilling discussion with the selected startups. Most of you probably know Evan, who has been a well-known industry investor for a number of years, and as I mentioned, also the contributor and the judge on our startup initiatives for a good number of years. Before I'm going to hand over to Evan, I just wanted to also mention that we do plan lots of startup initiatives throughout 2021, part of our upcoming ICE 365 initiative. So if you are a startup and would like to apply, get in touch. Just go to the ICE website to find more on this. Right, so I'm going to take myself off camera right now and hand over to Evan, who will moderate the session. Evan, over to you.
Great, thank you, Eva. Okay, so look, guys, I think what we'd like to do, we'll give you guys each, maybe a minute and a half or 2 minutes. Really is the elevator pitch. It's the classic elevator pitch. Just to quickly run through, this is the snapshot of my business. I'll launch into a few questions. I think you've seen some of them, but obviously I'll see what comes up in your initial pitch and might throw some curveballs at you at the same time, but all in the spirit of unearthing the gems. And yeah, so I suppose, as we said, going in alphabetical order, over to you.
Thanks, Evan. My name is Will Mace. I'm the CEO of a company called EQConnect. We're a data analytics company, and we're focused exclusively on safer gambling. We were founded specifically to solve the going next door problem. Now, every operator faces this problem of players going next door. Despite operators carefully monitoring their own players' behavior and having well-developed interaction and intervention procedures based on that monitoring, players, problem gamblers, can simply go next door at any point and start playing with another provider or lots of other providers, effectively evading any attempt to sort of help or support or protect them. So our platform, which is essentially a data consortium, aggregates and analyzes in real time cross-operator data. So when a player that has been showing some or all of the signs of a developing problem does go next door, the new operator can immediately see if that player is maybe on the edge of a cliff or approaching the edge of the cliff and interact with them accordingly to ensure they don't go over the cliff. Currently, an operator may offer bonuses and incentives to a new player as they have no visibility of where that player is or may be in relation to this cliff. And these bonuses could therefore be the final straw for some players. So our platform gives operators that visibility, so enabling and empowering them to make much earlier and more informed decisions about how to interact and intervene with their players to better protect them. This is the shared or single customer view, as it has become known, and it's quite simply an integral part of any safer gambling environment. However well-intentioned or capable individual operators are at identifying developing problems, they simply cannot properly protect players if they don't know and can't see the level and type of a player's activity on any other site. So we remove this blind spot. We create joined up protection wherever a player chooses to gamble.
Okay, good. Listen, that's a great introduction. I know your background, obviously, as having been in a B2C business yourself. I think you're head of innovation, if I recall. So I think the need that you're fulfilling is clear. I've got a question and then a concern. And one of the things we often look at in a startup is, what is the risk of it going to zero? That's obviously like the downside scenario. And my concern in your business is twofold. The one is, if you're not ubiquitous to the entire UK market, for example, or Irish market or Spanish market or what have you, but it looks like it's UK initially, then is there any value in it at all? Does it really help to be across 6 operators when you're not across the other 6? And is the follow-up question to that is the Gambling Commission likely to allow one supplier across everyone, or are they going to want to see the market answer itself? And the second question for me around the sort of existential risk is, I know you're part of all certain data sharing initiatives and all sorts of things, but again, in terms of this risk to zero, as I put it, what is the risk that the data sharing GDPR kind of rules just says, look, we can't find a way for you to share this, and therefore there's no business?
Both very good questions, and I'll take the second one first, if I may. The ICO, the Information Commission's office, have been engaged by the Gambling Commission to advise on the legality with respect to GDPR. And they have made a number of public statements, most notably to the House of Lords Select Committee about this proposition, and that they find data sharing to protect gamblers not prevented by GDPR in any shape or form. And actually, it was a very recent announcement by the ICO that they're working formally now with the Gambling Commission in an environment they call the sandbox to work through the proposition to give their view as a data protection regulator on the legality or otherwise of this. But they've always been extremely supportive of it from a data protection perspective. So from that risk, I think it's increasingly been minimized. The first question you asked, does this have any value if only a handful of operators sort of take it up? Clearly, the ideal situation is that there's 100% coverage. And that will only come, or is likely to only come, with Gambling Commission sort of mandating it. The Gambling Commission have been incredibly supportive of this proposition, with the CEO describing it regularly as a silver bullet. I think he's overstating it. I don't think there is a silver bullet to problem gambling, but he describes it as a huge leap forward in protecting customers. It's part of their business plan. And just a couple of days ago, Tim Miller, the executive director of the Gambling Commission, reiterated their absolute commitment to making it happen. So again, I think that the risk of operators just not taking it up is mitigated by the Gambling Commission's insistence upon it.
Interesting. Okay, good. I mean, I think we've got maybe another minute left to go. So, quick question for me to ask, just in terms of, like, as a venture capitalist, you know, you're looking for outsized returns, or at least, you know, decent returns. How big can it be? You know, it's always going to be a pain point that some people are going to try to solve themselves. So when you look at your models, I mean, what's the best case scenario when you look out, say, 2 years hence or 3 years hence, what this business could be worth in terms of revenue or in terms of profits or something?
So it has huge potential, because the proposition in its basic form can be picked up and dropped into any regulated gambling market in the world. The UK is certainly further ahead than some, but the Netherlands regulating now, but being very progressive, Sweden, France. So I think it has huge international potential. Of course, the operators and the small group of operators kind of dominate globally. So the UK, as we're seeing, is very much as a testing ground. If it proves good value to problem gamblers and to operators in the UK, and it seems a very strong case to put something very similar in place in other markets. There'll be local changes, obviously, to each deployment, but the core would be very similar. So it has huge sort of global potential.
Got you. Good. Okay, great. Well, look, we'll call time on that for the time being, and you know that moves on to GamerPro. Not that we had to say who that is. It's obviously Gary, but you're the one with the gaming chair, so we can certainly see what side of the business you're coming from. But over to you.
All right. Thank you. My name is Gary Soniak, and I'm the founder and the CEO of GamerPro, which is an esports service provider for mobile gamers and a new revenue stream for mobile game publishers. Mobile gamers compete with one another to win real money prizes. Players are required to deposit before playing, and winners can quickly and easily make withdrawals. GamerPro works with mobile games which are both skill-based and have a PvP gameplay mode. After several iterations, we launched our service by running ads on social media, and the 500,000 of mobile gamers who registered were evidence of our belief that there is a significant demand out there for our service. Our initial traction has been promising. In US dollar, the transaction volume was more than $1 million, and the revenue was more than 100K in half a year. But with the lack of direct connection with games, with mobile games in this period, we pinpointed 3 frictions in our user journey, which need to be removed to scale up our business model. We are doing this by partnering with mobile game publishers. As is well known, most publishers struggle to monetize their users effectively. So that's why we have developed an API-based revenue stream for them. And in return, publishers connect their game with GamerPro and help us to eliminate the main 3 frictions in our user journey. GamerPro is a standalone app working as a platform. And users have one single wallet to compete in any games on the platform, compared with skills where they need to move their money across games by depositing and withdrawing. And it's not just time, but also cost consuming. At GamerPro, this is not a concern. And since we are a platform, publishers can uniquely monetize their user base because users generate revenue for them even if they compete with any game on GamerPro. And who does a user generate revenue to? They generate revenue to where they first came from, to GamerPro. So in summary, our vision is to create a new sizable revenue stream for the mobile games industry, helping it to become more diversified. Yeah, that's
great. Thank you.
And
I think obviously you guys are, you've got some marketing nous and experience, because I think your seeders was funded very, very quickly. So clearly there's a buzz around this, and I think you've managed to get the sort of the Robin Hood crowd interested, or the gamer crowd who are very, very passionate. So well done for that.
Thank you.
2 questions for me. One of my concerns when I looked on the app, I see that you've got Free Fire and you've got FIFA and you've got obviously all big titles, and you don't seem to have too many small titles. So 2 questions around that. Number 1, are there IP issues? And is there a risk that FIFA says, look, this is not for us, and they exclude your API or Free Fire or anyone for that matter? Because I presume there's no relationship directly with those publishers. And 2, the second follow-up question is if there is or if there isn't, but these small publishers that you're looking who are struggling to monetize, is there not a risk then that your target audience are actually these micro publishers who don't have games that are actually worth publishing, and you're going to end up with just this tiny little long tail of unworkable or unviable publishers or unviable games?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let me answer the first question. Yes. So right now, the available version of GamerPro does not have a direct connection with those big titles, and our approach is to going step by step. So right now we are working with small mobile game publishers to get some case studies, and we also signed NDAs and letter of intent with middle and big size companies as well. So we are working on that. So moving forward as fast as we can. And as you mentioned, the Seeders campaign was quite successful, and we overfunded quite quick. So that's what we gained, some hype around GamerPro, what we can use in the next following month. On the second question, I think the vision for us is not just creating this new revenue stream, but we're also creating a marketplace of competitive mobile gamers. So that's why, we are collecting by connecting the mobile games to GamerPro, those valuable mobile gamers who wants to play for real money, so they can monetize with any other game easily on our platform. So that's our approach.
Got it. Thank you. Okay, good. Well, we've got a few more seconds to go. I think, obviously it's a big market. Gamers, you're fishing in a big pond there. What do you think, if we look at Skills, which is doing $500-600 million in revenue, and there's obviously this Papaya, and there's Avaya, and there's a couple others I can't even think of. So it's quite a competitive market. Is there anything maybe just in 20-30 seconds that you want to say around what your competitive edge is against those other competitors?
Yes, so I think we have some. The first one, what I mentioned in the initial introduction, this is the single wallet solution. So the users can use the same wallet to compete in any other game. So that's the first one. And secondly, the revenue share model is quite different what we have developed for mobile game publishers, because in our solution, the users generate revenue on an extra layer for their for their publishers, even they play with a competitor's game also on GamerPro. So that's why, and on the other hand, the whole GamerPro community will be able to compete, in a new game. So it's a free and a new user acquisition channel for the publishers as well. So overall, it could affect that the LTV is just going up, and the customer acquisition cost is going down overall for the mobile game publishers.
Okay, good. All right. Well, thank you, Gary. And last but not least, obviously we've got Hook Motion, and you'll give your little introduction, but you have to include in that why it's called Hook Motion, because I was trying to work that out myself.
Sure. So hi, my name is Matthew. I'm CEO of Hook Motion. We're a Montreal-based computer vision company, and we automate fraud and error detection, as well as data collection for casinos. So concretely what we do is we build software that we connect to existing surveillance cameras. And then we can detect cards, chips, how many people are at your table, active bets, for example, hand speed of your dealers, and much more. So all this information that we can give to the casino so that we can not only reduce losses by catching errors as they happen, but also increase revenue by using this data to optimize your gaming floor. Yeah, I think that's a quick elevator pitch for me.
Okay, good. All right. Well, congratulations for obviously having the quickest elevator pitch. That got you to the 3rd floor. We were prepared to offer you a 25-floor building. So a quick background question again, maybe 30 seconds. It's an unusual place to start a business like this, because Montreal, to my recollection and knowledge, having been there a couple of times, has one casino, but it's not a place where there's a sort of casino industry, and certainly not a casino equipment industry. So maybe just, why you're doing this and how you come to be doing this.
Yeah, that's correct. And that's why we're really happy to participate in this event, because where we are, casino tech companies are far in between. However, what we really do have in Montreal is specific AI and computer vision expertise. What we're building as a software here really is some deep tech, complicated algorithms that really aren't possible. The real innovation that we're bringing here is the fact that we are able, from these existing noisy cameras, we're able to do real-time 20 to 30 FPS recognition of objects at a distance. And so we really have this industry knowledge specifically, which makes it so that we can build this product, which suddenly doesn't require any additional hardware that just complicates things for casino operators. However, we have some great ties with our local casinos. We have great ties, so we're doing already proofs of concepts, and we'll be doing some pilot installation this year so we can test it on a large scale.
Got it. Look, obviously I looked what's available on your website and in the videos that you shared, and I mean, it's very impressive.
Thank you.
Let me just ask though, is this a market? Is this a solution looking for a problem, or is there actually a problem out there?
So actually the way we started Hook Motion is directly linked to a specific need. So we actually had the opportunity to listen to a reverse pitch by our local players here as casinos. And from their specific problems, we launched this. So we discovered that this issue happens worldwide across every casino. Table games like blackjack or baccarat, they're very hard to track. They're analog games. So not only is it expensive because you need to have multiple people watching these games to make sure that everything is going smoothly, but on top of that, it's very hard to know what are the most profitable tables. When is it time to raise minimum bets? When is it time to open a new table, for example? So we found that this is actually a very big problem. It's a $1 billion industry when we look at across all table games across the world.
Got it. Okay, all right. So it's the optimization, it's not just the fraud piece as well.
Yes, exactly.
Good. And I mean, my last question for you, and then we'll just have one general question for everyone, is this an environment in which land-based casinos, given what they've had to endure during COVID, are likely to be investing in new ideas, new processes, new software and technology?
Yeah, what we see is that casinos desperately need to become more adaptable, and we aim to give them more information, which means that they get to adapt quickly to different situations. So all historical data that they might have collected over the years when it comes to their operations is rendered completely useless because of the way that they basically have to stop their business when they're going to have to open slowly, depending on where each casino, where their stages is. And on top of that, they can't afford to have unoptimized table games. So we see this as a great opportunity for casinos to open back up and to start collecting data so that they can quickly get back to the state that they were before COVID.
Great, good. Okay, that's really interesting. I think, look, there are a lot of follow-up questions I could give to everyone, obviously, but in the interest of time, I think the one question for me, again, as an investor, is really, and again, inviting you to be as concise as possible, but tell me what the use of funds is. If you were to raise around now, really how you're deploying it. Is it for user acquisition? Is it for technology? Is it for recruitment, and so on and so on? Just to give a quick sense for that. And maybe just go in the same order, just to keep it simple.
Yeah, so very quickly, would be for technology to accelerate our deployment and our international growth. As you mentioned earlier, we're focusing on the UK. But with investment, we would be able to do that faster and grow internationally sort of in parallel.
Great, thank you. Good answer, thank you. Over to you, Gary.
Yeah, as I mentioned, and you also, that we just closed the crowdfunding campaign on Seedrs a month ago, but the investment round is still open for anyone. But we raised almost $500,000 in sterling, and it's still a headroom for another half. And the raised fund is going to use up to accelerate the product development and the API as well, because it's in alpha test and we are just rolling out the beta with our early adopters. And of course, to scale up our business model, we expand the team with some experts from the specific markets as well.
Good. Okay, thank you. And Mathieu?
Yeah. So right now, most of the funds are going into the product development. We already have a pilot that's going on this summer and multiple trials across the world. But as we're moving towards this autumn, we'll be investing more and more into commercialization and really shipping basically the product to as many casinos as possible.
Got it. Okay, good. Good. Well, look, I mean, Eva, we could carry on. I've got a bunch of other questions we could ask, but maybe if I can hand over to you and just you can summarize where we're at, and yeah, over to you.
Thank you, Evan. As you say, obviously, so many more questions, I'm sure, but that's the time that we have today. Thanks, a big thank you to Evan for leading and moderating and asking the questions. And thank you, Will, Gary, and Matthew for your participation and for submitting. Good luck on your next steps and on the voting on Pitch Ice Tech Futures. And just a note from me once again to other startups watching us, if you want to get involved, there's still time. As I mentioned at the beginning, we do have a lot of initiatives planned throughout 2021. So go to the ICE website and apply. Thanks a lot for your attention, and see you next time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.